Hello and welcome to The Unfiltered Experience with Tara and Louisa.
We are two girls who speak the truth about the struggle of never feeling enough whilst growing up in a world of filters and comparison.
Here we will have raw, relatable and authentic conversations to empower you on your path to self-development.
Come with us on the journey of unlearning. Welcome back to our first episode of our pregnancy series.
Yes.
Obviously,
welcome.
I don't have much input on this, but, you know, we're here for the ride and I'm here to learn as well as our audience. So anyone going through pregnancy, wanting to get pregnant or have fears around pregnancy, these episodes are for you. But basically, we're just going to, as things come up for Tara, discuss what's gone on and discuss the stages, because I know you found a really limited amount of information out there.
I did. So I really struggled in the first 6 to 8 weeks, I would say. Probably the first 12, but mainly in the first 6 to 8. And I think that when I was searching for someone else's experience and I was just, all I wanted to hear was like, me too, I really struggled to find that. So I basically wanted to provide that safe space of if someone else is going through something that feels really hard, this is for you.
Absolutely. And this is us. We're the unfiltered experience, and with what we're going through, we're going to give you that unfiltered experience.
Absolutely.
And so let's discuss trimester 1.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you about my pregnancy experience because I have to start off by saying that we were very, very grateful. Very, very privileged to fall pregnant straight away. It was a decision that we made, and basically on my first ovulation we did the deed, and 11 days later I found out I was pregnant. So for me it happened really fast, and I just want to send big hugs and love to anybody who's going through that journey and hasn't had that experience, because knowing the anxiety of having that little tiny thing inside of you and just hoping that it stays, I can only imagine how hard it would be to lose that or to not have that at all. So yeah, just extending lots of love and just awareness for people that have experienced that first and foremost.
Can I just say as well, so we all know from the episode before about my sort of the journey I'm going on with this fertility thing. And I had a chat with a Chinese medicine doctor who's also one of my best friends on Tuesday, and he recommends to anyone trying to get pregnant to get off birth control a whole year before you want to start trying, and you did that.
I did.
So it's interesting to see, you got off the Implanon a year ago, and then literally a year later it all worked out when you made the decision. You used other contraception, I don't know, did you?
No, the no contraception method.
Well, yeah, they use the pull-out method, which I do not recommend.
No.
But, full transparency.
Absolutely.
And then when you actually did decide to ejaculate in the vagina, it worked out. But yeah, I just want to preface and say that you actually did the process that you meant to do without really knowing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, I didn't know, but I just knew that it was coming soon, and it was a decision we made together that it was we're not completely ready to have a baby right now, but hey, let's stop the birth control and see what happens. And it didn't happen. And the first time we actually did it properly, it was so funny because I actually felt like I'd done something wrong.
I remember you texting me.
I was like, this feels really naughty. I was just like, what am I doing?
Yeah, well, because you live your whole life okay, how do I not get pregnant?
Exactly.
And then when you make the call, and we're still very young.
Of course. No, you make that call and then you do it and you just think, have I done the right thing?
Yeah.
Fuck.
No, Tara texted me oh my God. So she told me they'd made the decision to start trying for a baby. And then when you actually did the deed, you texted me after saying, oh my God, I'm in the biggest shamey. I feel like we weren't meant to do that. I feel like a kid, doing something naughty.
I'm breaking the rules. And look, to be honest, we were unsure. We didn't know what was going to happen. So we just basically gave it to the universe. We're if it's meant to be, it will be. And I mean, that's so fucking insensitive to people that are really trying, because I'm sure it's meant to be for you too. I don't mean that in that sense, but for us, it was just kind of we'll just leave it up to a higher power.
And you're very fertile.
I am.
You're a fertile woman.
I'm a fertile lady. Yeah.
You're a fertile lady, that's for sure.
And he's a fertile guy, I must say. So yeah, 11 days later I woke up. First symptom I had was my armpits were sore. That's how sore my boobs were. It was like transporting to under my arms.
Fuck that.
And I woke up and Louisa was on this journey with me, but I woke up and I just thought, this ain't normal. This is not normal. And obviously I was due for my period, but I hadn't got it yet. And so I ran downstairs. I literally had 15 minutes before I had to leave to go to work and see my client, who luckily only lives around the corner. But I just thought, I'm just going to quickly wear on the stick and then I'll go to work. Did not expect 2 lines to come up, but they did. And I just rang Louisa and I was like, it's fucking 6 a.m. and what is going on?
I was in my garage, which doesn't have reception at the best of times. And so it was like cutting in and out. And it was like, is Tara pregnant? Like, what's going on? Like, I was like running to the garage door, like, oh my God, like, what's happening?
And those 2 lines, like, they're so faint in the beginning. Like, they're not as obvious. Like, I did a pregnancy test to give to my family later on. It was like when you've got COVID, it's just like, bang, 2 dark lines. Like in early pregnancy, like it's so like faint. You're like, am I tripping out? Am I imagining this? Like what's going on? And yeah, and then like that all had to sink in, you know. That was a whole process, a day of that. But you know, they say to people, and I don't agree. They say to people, you know, don't tell anybody until you're 12 weeks pregnant. And I just rang everyone I knew. Like, of course, like it's like the most exciting day of my life. Like I rang all my like best friends. I rang my close family. You know, my partner spoke with his family too. And that was the right decision for us. Like, so if you're worried about telling anybody, because I had a lot of shame come up around going against the grain, because people would say, don't even tell your parents, don't tell your friends, like, don't tell your family. Yeah, like why? And I get why, because like if something was to go wrong, you know, whatever. But my sort of thinking around it was, if something's going to go wrong, like I'm going to want these people around me anyway. So I'm going to want them to be in the loop.
Yeah, they're the people that are going to support you through it going wrong.
100%. So I just didn't agree with that. I waited to tell, obviously, like my extended family and friends until about 10, 11 weeks. Basically, they say to wait till 12 weeks because you get a 12-week scan that kind of rules out most deformalities. Like anything that's going to go wrong, they kind of rule that stuff out at 12 weeks. And that's why they have that sort of rule around not telling anybody until 12 weeks, because there might be a complication. They might need to terminate the pregnancy. However, there's a new test that's come out recently that you can do at 10 weeks. It's called the NIPT test, and that actually tests for all those deformities at 10 weeks. So once I got that result back, I felt comfortable to tell my friends and family, like the extended ones. And so I did. And that was that. So that's all the good news.
I agree. No shame. Do what's right for you. I think obviously we weren't going to tell the podcast. I love that I'm saying we. Like, it's my news.
Yeah.
It is actually. It's my child too.
Yeah, I wasn't just going to announce it on social media. That was not happening. Yeah. But I kind of gave it away anyway, you know, like we were struggling. But yeah, like I said, that's pretty much all of the good part. The rest has been hell.
And it was downhill from there.
Yeah, that was all the good news. Let's get into the bad.
So tell us about trimester 1, because can I just give a little preface? We, on our growth journey, part of your growth journey as being your best friend, and I have witnessed, is you finding your voice and struggling with conflict. And have I ever seen you do a 180? Because in the first trimester, you were not afraid of conflict and you were not afraid to use your voice. So
No.
tell us more.
Absolutely not. I feel like being pregnant takes away that filter between should I say that or should I not? And it's just, I'm fucking saying it. Like there's no in between. And yeah, like I had big feelings, and I was really confident to tell people about my big feelings, even if it involved them.
I'm all about it.
Yeah, it was quite nice, and it was actually interesting to reflect and think of how many times I probably didn't do that, especially with people like my family. Like there were experiences that I'd been through where I was like, I would usually just swallow this and not say anything. but hey, I'm going to let you know. So it was different. Yeah, it was really interesting. Yeah, there's this pregnancy no filter that comes over you.
Authenticity filter.
Yeah, it's something about just being fucking down to earth and just saying it how it is. But yeah, so I think week 6 on the dot was when everything started for me.
Yeah.
It was like I woke up and I was instantly nauseous, crying, depressed, angry, isolated, alone, frustrated, and felt like I was on my deathbed, like I couldn't move. So from that point on, it was just downhill, and it did not get better for a really long time. And I actually said to Louisa I should have written in my notes how bad it was, because I'm in such a good place now that I can't remember. But I do remember going to my mum's house on a Sunday. I think I was about 7 weeks pregnant, and I just sat there and just bawled my eyes out. I could not stop crying. I felt like my world was ending. And I had a lot of shame around that, because I thought, this is meant to be the happiest part of my life. Why do I feel so bad about it? Why do I feel so upset? And why am I so deflated, really? And yeah, so as someone who has been studying psychology, I've really learnt the impacts of how you think and feel and the way that affects your unborn child. And when I was learning that, I remember thinking, like, that won't be me. I'm not going to do that. I won't do this. I won't do that. And I'm not going to think like that. And I'm going to make sure I feel this way. And when the emotions came over me that were so negative, and I genuinely felt like I had depression, all I could think about was, I'm harming my baby. Like, I'm harming my child. And it just was on repeat. And then the whipping comes out and it's like, you're a bad mother. You're a bad person. Why can't you feel better? Why do you feel like this? Look at what you're doing. And the cycle just felt like it was never going to end. So
the guilt and shame.
Like, I take my hat off to anybody who's going through that, because it was really hard for me to find hope. And this is when I started looking for answers. I started reaching out to people. I wanted to hear other people's experiences. I wanted to know that other people had struggled and they were okay. And I just didn't find that. And luckily I had one person who had been through this not that long before me, and she had had a quite similar experience and gave me hope that it would get better. But yeah, like, I found that most people just said, oh, like, I felt fine, or I didn't experience that. And when you're going through something that's so dark, like, to hear that no one else has gone through it, it feels worse. It deflates you more.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah, why am I like this?
Yeah.
And I think being so self-aware, like, it was almost like curse, because I was just like hyper vigilant around, like, the way I thought and felt, because I was like, this is going to hurt my baby. Like, this is going to affect them. And anyway, what I've learnt since then is that it's totally normal. Like, it's to be expected. And it's really, really okay to have big feelings and big emotions. And it's also okay to reach out to, like, external help. Like, it's okay to get on medication. It's okay to speak to psychiatrists and psychologists and doctors and all that sort of stuff, and let them in on what you're feeling, because you know, like, I'll be 19 weeks when this episode comes out, but I had a midwife appointment, and you know, straight away when I told her about my history of mental health, she, like, referred me to the social worker, and she's like, oh, they're on call, like, you can talk to them whenever you want. And it made me feel like it's okay to feel that way. And I wish I knew that earlier, because I didn't have that support. So if I knew what I knew then, I would have reached out more to people to kind of find some relief from how I felt. But instead, like, I just felt like I was alone through all of it.
Yeah, I think I witnessed in you a very, like, yeah, the loneliness was really accurate, like, feeling like isolated in a journey and not wanting to reach out to others because of, like, whatever that meant. But now seeing the, like, yeah, the change in you is huge. Like, the change in your whole, like, it's like overnight you're back to, like, you're vibing and you're feeling excited. But recently I read a I'm reading in the middle of Happy Days, which is a book by Gabby Bernstein, Shock, that I'm reading another one of her books. And she talks about her postpartum depression experience. And she obviously has all the spiritual tools in the world and, you know, has really delved into not needing medication. And she talks about how for the first time in her life, like, she uses all of those tools. And, like, I think anyone that knows her would know she was, like, would have been knee deep in meditation and all those fun stuff that we like to talk about, but nothing could shift it other than medication. Because it was a chemical imbalance in her brain that was a physiological response to pregnancy. And I think that's really important to, like, destigmatize around something that's it's so physical what you're going through, and it's something that, you know, usually you don't really have much understanding over because we're new. And there's no shame in, like, getting that extra help.
100%. When I saw the midwife today and she said to me, you know, do you have a history of mental health? And I said, yeah, I do. I was medicated over a year ago, but I've since ceased that medication. And she was like, oh, we have pregnancy safe medication for depression and anxiety if that's something you want to explore. And it was just so casual. It wasn't like, we shouldn't do this, but we'll make an exception. It was just like, yeah, no worries. Like, it's so fine. And she's like, if at any stage that changes, just reach out, like, and we can put you on something. And
I love that.
Because I've taken medication in the past when I felt like I was at a point where I couldn't keep going on my own, and it was something I knew was a Band-Aid for a period of time. And I used it for a period of time, and then I weaned myself off it, and it served its purpose perfectly. So yeah, like, pregnancy is no different. It's even more intense, let me tell you. Like, I have experienced depression, and this was something else. Like, this was like, it felt like everyone was against me. And I know that's on me completely, but it was like the whole world was against me and I was by myself experiencing everything. And it's almost like the depression and the anxiety separates you from everybody and it wants you to feel alone. And so you don't reach out to anybody, which exacerbates it further.
Well, I mean, you guys have heard my experience in the hormonal episode with the week before your period. And I really relate to what you're saying in with what I've gone through with that, in the sense that, like, nothing from my life has changed from yesterday, but the lens I'm looking at my life through is just dark. You know, it's dark and depressing and scary, and all I can think about is, like, the worst or the most negative circumstance, or I'm reading into situations with this, like, negative perspective, but nothing has changed from the day before. And it's like, it's actually, hormones are so powerful.
We underestimate it
Completely. And I think the worst thing is when, and we've said this before, but, like, when you're in it, you don't know you're in it. That's your reality. That's how you think and feel, and you think that's a fact. And it's hard to know, especially with, like, something like the first trimester. Like, that's a 3-month period of time. It's not just the week before your period, which you have awareness over, especially on your first pregnancy. Like, you're just sprung into this period of time and, like, instantly your hormones drop and, like, you don't know that it's a physiological thing. You think it's true.
And you don't know when it's going to end either. You think that it's going to be like that forever. You don't see, at least with the period, you think, once I bleed,
there's an end date here.
There's an end date. I'm going to get through this. But for me, it was like, when does it end? And I would ask other people's experiences and they'd say, look, it ended for me at 12 weeks. It ended for me at 14. It went for me my whole pregnancy. And I was like, fuck my life. But let me tell you, I experienced the really, like, the real usual symptoms, like nausea, food aversion, depression, fatigue. The fatigue was a big one, like chronic fatigue. And let me just say, if anyone's going through it, just fucking sleep. Just do it. Like, you just have to. Don't fight it. Don't shame yourself. Just rest. You would have heard us talk about this in the podcast. It's been my biggest learning, is to just let myself rest, because you will get your energy back later. It'll be fine. For the first 12 weeks of pregnancy, the baby is completely reliant on your organs to survive. After 12 weeks, they've got their own home. They've got their own things going on. They can support themselves to an extent, and they're not stealing from you as much anymore. So that energy does come back. Like, that's science. So just give yourself a break for the first 3 months. So just do nothing. For me, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't exercise. I didn't even go for walks, which is a big one for me.
And I think that's a massive, like, I mean, we know, like, as a trauma response, we stay busy so we can run from ourselves and distract from ourselves. And I know for you, being comfortable with saying no and not doing the washing and not doing the cleaning and not doing all those little tasks, there was a process around that, like giving yourself permission to rest.
100%. It was really, really hard because I have this high expectation of myself to be proactive all the time, because that's a measure of my success, is how much I can do in a day.
A measure of your worth. You
Yeah,
know?
totally. Like, it's a complete direct reflection of me. And so and I have someone also in my life that's super active, so I'm comparing myself to them.
Oh, God.
My partner, who's just up at 6 and walking and gymming and saunas and this and that, and that's another thing I couldn't do. Like, there were things taken away from me. Yeah, there's food, but my favorite things to do were saunas, ice baths, breath work, and I had to stop all of those stuff.
Yes, all the stuff that regulated you.
Yeah, like, it was like I had no choice but to just do fucking nothing. And yeah, I found that super hard.
Especially when you're in the depression, because it's like, okay, what do I know works for me that normally resets my mindset?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't do any of them.
Yeah. And then I did the whole, like, the body image stuff, which we've spoken about in another episode, but I went shopping because I was like, I'm going to get dopamine this way, and, like, nothing fits and, like, nothing looks good. And I was just left more miserable. And that's when I just waved the white flag and thought, I'm just going to fucking chill. I'm just going to chill out. I'm going to watch TV and I'm going to sleep and I'm just going to rest.
But so much growth comes from that.
Yeah.
It's like you're forced to recover.
Totally. You're forced to rest. Like, one thing that I found really hard was to become aware of the fact that I was now responsible for another life. And once that sunk in, I just gave myself full rein to do it, to just rest.
And it's responsible for another woman as well. And there's, like, a legacy and a standard that you want to set for, like, that we didn't get, you know?
Totally. 100%. But yeah, and then I feel like that went on for what felt like forever. It peaked at 9 weeks. That was the worst. And then at 12 weeks, I was in Bali, and I felt like I just landed in Bali, and being on holidays definitely helped, but it was like I just landed and we checked into the hotel, and I just felt this sense of, like, everything's going to be okay. Like, you've gotten through it. Like, you're going to be all right. It's going to get better. And all of a sudden, I was just hysterically laughing. I felt myself smiling all the time. I was looking at things differently. I felt relaxed. I felt comfortable in my body. I was embracing my new body. I was embracing my new self that was, like, when I got to Bali last time, just to compare, my first thing was, like, where's the gym? Where's the closest gym? And where am I going to walk tomorrow morning to get my steps in? And I just was like, I didn't go to the gym once when I was there.
How good.
And I just sat on the balcony and I just watched, like, the sunset, and I was like, I don't give a flying fuck about anything. Like, I'm just so content. And it's been really an uphill journey from there. So to give anyone some hope, if you're in the absolute pits, is that my whole mood and perspective since that point has just completely flipped on its head. Like, of course, I definitely have mood swings. That's a fact. But the good thing about a mood swing is what swings down swings back up real quick. Oh. So I feel like I can have my low moments, but within 2 minutes, like, I'm laughing and smiling again. And
that's me without being pregnant. That's me on a daily basis.
Yeah. I'm always on the verge of tears, which is cute. Like,
oh, welcome to my life.
I don't think I've ever cried so much in my life. Like, happy tears, sad tears, all the tears. But yeah, underlying, I feel just really content and really happy.
Beautiful.
Which has been a dream. And that is what I didn't hear when I was searching for some answers, was that it would get better. And yeah, basically my experience has been to a T what they say. So, yeah.
Thank you so much. I love learning about all this stuff through you.
Oh, I can't wait.
Thank God she's doing it first. That's all I have to say. That is all I have to say. We'd be in dire straits if I was first.
Oh, yeah. We did have one question pop through on our Instagram that was from another person that was in addiction recovery and that was going through pregnancy. And they wanted us to just have a little chat about how to manage that. And basically all I'm going to say is that nothing's changed for me in my recovery. I definitely look after myself more in the sense that I'm not out as much and I'm not answering as many calls. But one big decision I made when I fell pregnant was getting a home group in our fellowship and creating a real safe space for me to go to every week.
And that's just your base.
But that's what's been important for me to keep showing up, because one thing I got warned about when I fell pregnant was that you will not want to keep doing the things that are going to make you feel good. You're going to make up every reason under the sun as to why you shouldn't. And I just think if you make a commitment that you have to show up to, then that plugs you in each week.
And I think once a week is great. Like for me, I mean, obviously I'm not pregnant, but in my final year of uni, I had that home group, the same as Tara's, and I had service there. And so I did one meeting a week basically for the last 6 months of my degree, and it kept me clean.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally. And just do the opposite of what I did. Reach out. Call people.
You're not alone. And reach out to us.
Reach out to us. We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much for everyone listening.
Yeah.
And we're excited to watch your journey, and we'll have more episodes coming about pregnancy and then being a parent and having a child and a daughter and all the things.
All the things that come with that.
And we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Bye.